Okay, it is 6:01 p.m. on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. We'll call the Common Council meeting to order. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Middleton.
Here.
Margaret.
Here.
Romano.
Present.
Weigel.
Here.
Crowder.
Here.
Daniel.
Here. I'm not usually on the roll call, but I'll take it.
Started it over.
Jennifer, I did notate that your name is misspelled on the roll call, so I already told her that, just so you're aware. In front of you are the minutes from our last meeting, which was October 10th, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections? I think I did send you, two? One was Alina Hauser's name, and the other was under retired shotguns. It should have been Jared Lancaster, not Gary Lancaster. Besides that, any changes or corrections? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show with the usual sign. It is unanimous. Next is ordinance 2023-16. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second. Second. Every motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who motioned? Okay, was it? Okay, I couldn't tell which of the Jens it was. Okay, so Jennifer motioned, Tad seconded. Okay, all those in favor show with the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number 2023-16 by title only.
Ordinance 2023-16, vacation of public right-of-way.
So you'll remember that this is the Community Bible Church. There was a lot of discussion that we've had in past council meetings. One of the main points of interest was whether or not Kelly would have turning radius for his plows. You can see under the very last whereas that it does include an exclusive ingress-egress to turn its vehicles around there. So that got adjusted and taken care of. So is there anything you would like to, I didn't think, I figured, but just wanted to check. So besides that, I guess questions of, if anybody has any other comments, questions, concerns about that, that petition to vacate.
Well, I think, we can vacate it, but I believe he's going to need to take the information, have it recorded.
Yep.
Normally, they have a survey of just the alley being vacated, and then a survey that combines everything. He's got that already combined here. So I talked to Nathan, and since it's pretty much a straightforward vacate, everything's rectangular and whatnot, he could probably just go ahead and set that as a combined.
Okay.
With this cost. If not, you need to probably talk to Nathan Builder over planning a building with that, but just make sure.
Yeah, just make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. Yep, understand.
This way the responsibility of recording this thing does go back to the property owner instead of us.
Yeah,
We've done it both ways.
I was gonna say, my assumption is, if the council decides to vacate this, then that gives the credence to go get it, do the recording, do all that kind of stuff, right?
Right, I believe, we'll still have to submit, information saying that we did vacate.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming the ordinance would be enough for that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
But then he'll need to have the documents recorded properly before it actually becomes part of that parcel, so to speak.
Yep, that makes sense. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments, concerns about this? Okay, do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-16 on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Jennifer. Further discussion. I just want to clarify, this is the second reading of this ordinance, correct?
Yeah, we read it once, but we had to have some changes done,
Okay.
and Marcia.
Okay, that's why I thought. I just want to make sure it was the second reading. Okay. So, all those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next up is the downtown plan presentation by Catherine and HWC Engineering. I will tell you, council members, it's up on the screen here. I actually probably will turn that, I'll turn that here in a moment, but it's actually in your Dropbox. So yeah, you should be able to just grab the right-hand corner and just turn it. Yep, so there, then the audience can see it. That would be fantastic. Thank you. So, Catherine, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Good evening. My name is Catherine Puckett. I'm a landscape architect with HWC Engineering. And we've been working on this plan for quite some time with a number of people in this room who've been on the committee. So thank you for that. So tonight, my goal is to give you kind of a brief summary of the plan and then ask for kind of questions and comments, things you like, don't like, things you think we missed, that sort of thing. We're still kind of taking input before we wrap up the plan, so that's kind of the emphasis tonight. So I will get started. So as I mentioned, I'm a landscape architect. The team from HWC consisted of 4 people. So Adam Pieper is a planner. He's not here this evening. Brian Sheehan is our client liaison marketing person, and then Eric Walker was a support landscape architect. So they were at many of the meetings but are not here this evening. So who was leading this effort? So it was brought on by the city, and then Columbia City Connect teamed together and put out an RFP for this. So HWC interviewed and was asked to proceed. So what is the purpose of the plan? No problem. So many purposes of the plan. One is to just build on recent success. You have much to be proud of here in Columbia City. Activated alleys, public art happening, lots of programming, First Fridays that brings people down to the square. Many eateries. I ate at the kitchen today. It was great. A lot of things. You have avenues for business owners to work on, facade improvements. So many of these things I've listed, a lot of communities haven't even gotten that far. So you really have a lot to be proud of. So the idea was to kind of build upon what you've already started and kind of create more goals so that you can focus efforts and investments as you move forward. And then ultimately prepare for funding opportunities. So I know a lot of times landscape architects and planners can do a lot of hand waving but not come up with how in the world are you going to get this done. So we like to make sure that this plan puts you in a good position to go after some different funding sources as those become available. So the study area you can see here, the north boundary was Jefferson Street, the south boundary Vine Street, so just touching the Blue River. The west boundary was Walnut, and the east boundary was Washington, Courthouse Square right in the center there. So the planning process involved first a site visit, so we kind of got a tour. A number of the steering committee members walked us all around and kind of pointed out things that are going well, things they'd like to see improved. Then we had several steering committee meetings. We offered a public survey, and then we had a public input session as well. We also sat down and did stakeholder interviews with the youth council and to kind of get that teen perspective, and then also with the different department heads right here with the city. So the steering committee had 12 participants, really active group, appreciated their time and effort in this. One of the things we talk about is, what do you love about Columbia City? What needs work? And interesting that someone had said they moved to Columbia City because they felt like they could make a difference here. So this population size just kind of allows for people who have an idea or want to make a difference to get involved and kind of make that happen. So that's really a nice thing to hear. The public survey, I think it had 25 plus or minus questions. So that full survey responses with all the percentages is in the appendix of the plan, which we can share. But I'm kind of just going to go over a few of the takeaways. We had over 420 people respond, which was really great. So some of the kind of just quick answers, things that we took from this were that, over 41% of the people who responded to the survey are coming downtown once or twice per week, which is fantastic. That over 61% agreed that downtown is active and exciting. It has a lot going on. And then 93% agreed that Columbia City downtown is safe and a nice place to be. So that was all really great. Some of the other key takeaways that I just kind of wanted to go over that we took from, again, the 25 question survey. Here are some of kind of the things we took from that. that residents go downtown most often for community events. So your first Fridays are working, and the events you have similar to that. We attended one of those, and there were so many people and so many booths. It was a great atmosphere. But we also want to kind of, when we talked to the youth, they were saying, we come down for the events, but if there's not an event, we don't really go downtown. So kind of thinking about what are some other ways to get them downtown, even when you don't have a big event going on. Visitors want more dining and shopping. So you do have quite a few eateries and shops. They are kind of during the day type places. So a lot of breakfast and lunch. And then the shops, I noticed even today, close at 4, if not 3 in some cases. So that's just something that we've kind of observed. Getting those shops and restaurants open in the evening hours is something that would maybe bring people in at a different time. Cars get them here, but other options would be desirable. So most people are driving downtown. Some people are walking, but there's a lot of trail activity planned and going on, being constructed here in the city, south of downtown. So we're kind of thinking about how do you make sure to get those connections into your square. Visitors want to enjoy outdoor spaces, so you have a number of pocket parks and places that are really nice, but just kind of looking for more spaces like that that people are welcome to go to even when an event's not happening. And then dining, shopping, and entertainment are in greatest demand, but the downtown is the heart of the community, which is really great. A lot of smaller communities, kind of Walmart becomes the heart of the community, and that's unfortunate. So I think you've done a really great job of kind of keeping that character here around the square and keeping some shops and programming going. So that's been fantastic. So public event, we had a booth at one of the first Fridays this summer, and had great participation there. We had a large aerial map and kind of asked people to write things on Post-its and kind of play with some different pieces we had to talk about where they might like to see a public space or how the streetscape could evolve. So just a few takeaways from that. People love the first Fridays and the farmers markets, a lot of positive feedback about that. Some people were saying, I'd love to have a place to just host birthday parties for kids in the winter. So, where could that happen? Different programming on the square. There was some mention of square dances. People love the trails. We heard a lot about that. Just would like to see more of that. More green space downtown. There was also a lot of talk about, holding business owners accountable for blighted buildings and concern about the structural integrity of buildings downtown. And then also the hockey rink was a little bit out there, but that's what we like to hear. We like to hear what people are thinking about, what they'd like to see. So we also had a series of boards, 4 boards with 6 images on each board, and asked people to vote with dots about, what they would like to see. Had a range of all sorts of different imagery there. And so these are the 6 images that had the top votes. I think they started with like 78 votes at the highest one, and around 56. So a lot of votes on these 6 images. So some of these images are showing this idea of an indoor, play space or recreational space, a place for kids to come downtown, an outdoor, whether or not it's not a traditional playground, but some sort of play space, a reason to bring kids downtown, splash pad, plaza space, trails, this idea of interactive lighting or things to kind of get people interested at coming in the evening hour, and a food truck court was the last item there. So after the public input and working with the committee, we developed kind of 4 categories of goals. So connect, attract, protect, and inform were the 4 kind of initial goal sets. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Again, we can share the full plan, but wanted to kind of give you a kind of brief overview of what we talked about. So this map starts to look at connectivity in a physical way of connecting trails not only to downtown, but also thinking about north to Eagle Park as that comes, to fruition, down to the school campus, out to the 4-H grounds. And then in a not so physical way, the idea of connecting, the teens and the youth, the future of the community to the square. We kind of talked about these different ideas of establishing like teen ambassadors. The city of Kokomo that we work with has a teen ambassador for each one of their public parks, and they're kind of responsible for eyes on those parks, and they have activities every summer for kids to come out and do. Tree tenders is another idea. Keep Indianapolis Beautiful does that. They have youth come out and tend to the urban landscape. But creating volunteer opportunities, not only for teens, but kind of, even seniors, but activating the square with all the different generations. So that was kind of what that was discussing. The next category is attract strategies. So here we were talking about really bringing people to the square or the downtown in evening hours, in the winter, and then families with children downtown as well. So some of the imagery here is kind of just showing, the idea of extending your outdoor dining in the summer throughout the seasons, using heaters or even igloos is something that we've seen done before. Your winter programming, ways to get people down to the square more than one time per winter. This Arctic Blast photo in the bottom right-hand corner is from Fair Oaks Farm off 65. They have kind of a winter festival with that. And then the other two images, one is of a children's museum in Bloomington that I've been to before with my kids, and I don't live in Bloomington. It started out as a really kind of a small space, and it's kind of grown into this place that people go to right downtown. And then the middle image is of a library, just kind of thinking about this lovely library facility east of town. Is there a way to kind of get a satellite spot downtown to just kind of give people a reason to come down on a Saturday, get a book, and then also maybe spend some money on something else? So those are kind of some different ideas. One of the big ideas from that category was establishing a permanent public space on the square within the downtown. This idea kind of came about, again, from the public survey of people saying we'd really like there to be an outdoor space that we can come to, that we're welcome to, outside of kind of just the courthouse square. And then the youth council also saying, if there was something like ping pong tables or something for us to come down and do even when there's not a big event, that might kind of draw them there or to the coffee shop and kind of to come downtown more. So we talked a little bit about kind of what these public spaces might have. Flexible programming was important, a fountain or splash pad, a way to attract people, outdoor game tables, social seating, and then just kind of flexible programming space and landscaping and lawn. So once we had that discussion, we kind of picked 3 locations, which are illustrated on these boards over here, for what those spaces could be. So I'm going to go through each one of those really briefly. So the first one was looking at this location, so just north of Van Buren, along Chauncey. So the post office is here on the west side of the street. The mailbox is here. So we were kind of looking at, could you take the second part of that block and close that and turn it into a plaza space, leaving this open to vehicles so they could come in and turn around and still drop off the mail. And have a little event space, maybe a splash pad, because it takes much to attract children, and a little bit of a plaza space, extending it with some bump outs. So that was the before image here, and then I'll flip to the after. So that starts to show you what that could look like and really sort of extend out Pickles outdoor dining, give them a lot more space, and kind of just make that more of a permanent plaza space while still allowing traffic on the north and south ends of it. The second idea was looking at the square. So we're looking south on Chauncey Street on the west side of the square. So you have parking all up and down that. We were kind of thinking about how the fact that the south side of the square is currently not really open to public parking. It's really reserved for the courthouse and then the police. And as the jail moves out, that might open up more parking on that side of the square. So could you potentially justify removing some parking on this block? So this just started to look at extending the courthouse square lawn into a public plaza space, event lawn, really giving a front door to City Hall, allowing for plenty of space for game tables, splash pad, even a play space, while still maintaining kind of that formality of your courthouse square, but allowing this to be a place that people can, play and interact, change public art out, those sorts of things. So that's the after for that, just kind of trying to give a visual for what that could look like. The next category is protect. So this really kind of started to look into some of those discussions we had with department heads about their concerns about existing buildings becoming safety hazards. So just kind of looking at ensuring codes, figuring out if there's a way to lead a structural study to really identify those key buildings that are problem areas, protecting building character with facades, and continuing your facade program as it's moving along, but also seeking out if there's other, larger funding sources that could help to fund those structural improvements. And then protecting and enhancing walkability. We talked a lot in the committee about kind of how pedestrians could feel more comfortable downtown, walking around, crossing the streets. A lot of the crosswalks are very long. There is area or space really between the end of a parking aisle and the next road that is currently just striped. A car can't park there because of the crosswalk, and people don't really feel comfortable going there because it's asphalt. So this idea is just extending that curve, a lot of times they're called bump outs, to really create bigger plazas and nodes on the corners, which decreases the crosswalk width, making it safer for pedestrians, and also gets them out there so cars can see them, so they're not kind of behind that parking row. So there's a lot of advantages to that. So we're really thinking that streetscape master plan really needs to kind of look holistically at the district and then start to bite off pieces. There's a lot of infrastructure work that I know some of the department heads want to get done, so that would need to be kind of like incorporated as you're redoing those streets. And the next category was inform. So this was really kind of talking about community identity, downtown districts, kind of downtown and redevelopment. The image in the bottom is of Umbrella Sky, which is an art piece that was installed temporarily in Batesville. We do some work down there and are helping them. They've only had that installed temporarily, but the first summer they did, their farmers market increased 30% by the amount they made at their farmers market that summer. So that didn't continue, that kind of peaked and then went away. But I think it just shows how having something like that really would draw people from even outside of your community to come see what it is. And then it could be changed up in a couple years to be something else. It's a less expensive. I know public art also can be problematic. It's hard for us to all agree on a public art that's going to be installed forever. So this type of stuff, if someone doesn't like it, it's going to be gone in a year or what have you. So it's kind of an interesting concept of a way to kind of attract people downtown. And then kind of one of the big ideas from this category was looking at purchasing strategic properties to attract desired development. So this really came about understanding that the jail is in the process of moving, and you're going to have this kind of building on the south side of the square, and what's going to happen with that. And we talked a lot about in the committee, if concerns about, well, a developer or an individual could purchase that and then they may turn it into something that we don't really like the use. So instead of kind of sitting back on that, we were encouraging you to think about, going after that, purchasing the property, developing a request for proposal, and informing the developers as to what you would like to see there and what you would require to have happen there. So that's what this big idea is about. So I think there's other properties downtown where this same concept could be thought through, but we just use this as one example to go ahead and draw up a couple sketches for. So I'm going to kind of briefly walk you through that. So this is the third location. So we looked at this from public space, but also from, how you could inform the architecture of this. So if you look at this, so here's the courthouse. This orange is representing that kind of half block space where the jail currently is. So here, one thought was to take that and start to create, 2 to 3 story mixed use buildings with some parking. So it's still very desirable for people to use. And then off of so the courthouse square is here, off of that, kind of maybe expand the alley into some public space that's kind of protected by buildings, and this building is up against the main street. You can have a little gateway down here as you kind of have that entrance downtown. This other concept was really looking at opening up Main Street to the courthouse and the architecture there. So kind of letting the building inform that and start to tilt, and then maybe have a public space in that area in front of the building and parking behind, and opening that up that view. We also talked about internally some ideas of doing kind of a larger building that would include a parking garage in it. And parking is always a concern over time. And half the room there's no way we need a parking garage, and then the other half is like, there's nowhere to park. So this is always a meeting of the minds as far as parking goes. But there's certainly enough space for that half block to look at a lot of different options there. So that basically concludes my 10 minutes of the last kind of 6 months of work we've been doing. But I just kind of wanted to open up to all of you to any questions or comments. Again, what you think is headed in the right direction, if there's anything we missed. And I will kind of jot down some of those notes or answer any questions I can.
I guess my first one is, I think you got a marvelous job of putting some great ideas out there for us. I deal a lot with parking and those type of issues. One of my real concerns is right out here in front, between Chauncey and Line Street. That road, that area is very, very narrow. I got video, I work in the upper office, so I took pictures of lots of people almost hit head on because you put a super truck or a super duty truck at angle parking, they're sticking out there, and people have to stop or slow down, and if there's any way to widen that, you know, take it up 2 feet even on each side, you know, take it up to the brick that we have right now. But I took videos of people, I mean, even one of the police officers had to stop, and he had to go by at that time, and we're just like, oh, look out, you know. So that area is really, that's that one block that's really.
And you said that's on Chauncey between which?
In between, is
No,
on Van
it's
Buren.
on
Oh, Van Buren.
Between Chauncey and,
Chauncey and Line Street.
we had that
Gotcha.
conversation in the
Okay.
steering committee meeting,
I
yep.
was gonna say that, I mean, if we could figure out any way to widen that, just enough so people know, yeah, and it's a safety thing too. I mean, we gotta look at, when you park a SUV or truck in there and somebody has to park the car, trying to back out, it's, you're just praying to God that nobody's coming.
Right.
And people don't normally drive the speed limit through there. They're going pretty good. So I guess I deal with parking in that area a lot. People want to voice their opinions. I'm like, I can't make it any wider and I can't make it any the width any better.
Yeah.
So but I see, you know, in the grand scheme of things, this is a minor thing, but yeah, I think it needs to be addressed.
Sure. And I think you're absolutely right. When you have these downtown streets and the buildings are set and the sidewalks are there, there's only so much you can do. I think as part of the streetscape plan, there could be some thought to, you know, angled parking onto moving traffic is not always ideal. You could go to parallel, but you lose some spaces, so that's always the conversation.
The need for additional parking was the main concern, so that you can get more in an angle parking than parallel.
Yeah,
So that was done before I was here.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's a safety thing we need to seriously look at
Mm-hmm.
when we're doing the whole.
streetscape, yes.
Catherine and I were talking about that earlier. You know, ultimately, the parking issue is, we'll say, around the noonish timeframe, right? Like, the issue is when city governments, you know, in here, county governments in there, the service-based organizations are working during that time. That's when we have the parking issue, because if you think about the after hours, right, when the restaurants are open and we have people coming downtown, plenty of parking spaces in the county government center, right? Plenty of parking spaces typically in the post office lot. You know, there's spaces in our city lots, you know, things like that. So the issue is how do we address it in the, we'll say, the open hours of a lot of the service-based businesses? And again, Catherine and I had this conversation earlier today. Trying to figure out a way to accommodate that while not spending a whole lot of money is the challenge, right? We don't want to necessarily bulldoze buildings in order to create more parking lots that are flat, right? If we could build up, that's preferential, but then you have extreme cost on that. So you're right, it is a challenge, especially in that Van Buren corridor that you're talking about. That is something that I know steering committee spent, Jennifer's on it too, that spent a fair amount of time on, of trying to figure out, okay, what's the right treatment? Especially in light of, okay, if we're gonna take this 100 block of South Chauncey and completely transform it into plaza space, how do we address that? Well, we know that again, if the current jail is being vacated, that opens up a lot of spaces there that are currently taken out, right? And then you also have potentially on West Van Buren, right up against State Road 9, if instead of making that kind of a 2.5 lane, let's say, area, if we do a bump out there, now we have another 5 or 6 spaces at least that are going to be going in there. So there's ways to accommodate what we currently have, but again, the challenge is, and we talked about this too, do we go to one-sided parking? Or not one-sided parking, I'm sorry, one side is parallel on that 200 block of West Van Buren. Do Do we go to one side is parallel and then one side is angled, so now we've opened up more lanes so that you have more traversing? But, you know, is one side gonna get angry about that? Like, there's a lot of elements to that, but you're right. I think everybody on the committee was very, I think, adamant in some ways of saying, we have got to figure out a way to address the 200 block of West Van Buren and the parking, because it's not cars. It's the dual wheel dualies, it's the super trucks with the, you know, 2-foot trailer hitch hanging off the back. It's those kind of things. And I think we can certainly recognize the fact that we're an agrarian community. We're a part of agriculture, right? So we're not gonna get rid of those things. But accommodating the way in which that goes downtown, that parks downtown, that stops at the county building to go pay their taxes, or to, you know, stop by the planner's office or whatever, and still accommodate enough parking to handle those retailers, I think, is the important part. And how we strike that balance is really critical, kind of moving forward.
Yeah. And as an outsider, coming to First Friday, you know, the streets are closed down, a good part of them, so there's not a lot of parking right there for that event. And people walk. They can
Amazingly,
do
people walk.
it.
Yes.
And it does kind of, you know, today, or the earlier presentation, heard somebody say, well, if I drive up and there's not a spot right in front of Pickles, I just keep going and go somewhere else. Oh, that breaks my heart so much, because it seems like we'll go to Walmart and we'll park at the very back of the parking lot and walk all the way to the back of Walmart, no problem. But downtown, for some reason, we have different standards. So it's a lot of perception, but I think there are some different creative ways to look at that street section and play with your quantity. But in the Streetscape Master Plan, a lot of times we'll be tasked with, okay, we want you to do this Streetscape Master Plan, but we need a net zero change in parking. So we hear that a lot, and it is doable. It's just a lot of kind of puzzle master, so.
How can we take 2 spaces from here? And
Yeah.
here and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I do think it was sort of an epiphany when the steering committee was like, oh, but they're leaving downtown, so.
Oh, there's another
Oh.
15 spots that we weren't
Yeah,
planning
just
on. Yeah.
found 15
Yeah.
more spots over here.
And then again, though, that bleeds into the last board over there is if, you know, if there's conversations and whatever with the county about what the future of the current jail looks like, and, you know, there's a fair amount of parking back there, some, by the way, that goes unutilized during the middle of the day. A lot of that parking will no longer be needed. Is there ways in which we can maneuver people around so maybe they don't get right up on the courthouse square, but there's a parking lot a half a block away behind the old jail? Or, by the way, the county owns a lot that's at the corner of Washington and Van Buren that they own and take care of. So there's parking, but again, it comes down to how much do people want to walk, right? And listen, I mean, you know, one of the things that we did, you know, Rosie and I moved our parking spaces out to the city lot, so we had more parking available in front of City Hall. You know, that was how many years ago we did that. So, I mean, I'm not pot calling the kettle black here. It truly is something that's important we have to take a look at, you know.
I have to agree with what she said earlier, when people park at the back of Walmart walking, they
Yep.
don't want to walk the half a block to go into the downtown stores. I had a number of conversations with people with that.
Yeah.
And, but I will say, I've seen some communities that have vacated a portion of their block and turned it into a whatever. And it is pretty cool, I have to admit. I kind of wondered about it at first, but after I visited a couple of those communities that have done that made it more user-friendly, so to speak, it was quite impressive, honestly. I kind of questioned it.
Yeah.
But when I actually seen it in operation, I'm like, well, that's pretty neat, you know. There's a way to utilize that and bring people more downtown. So I'm kind of, like I said, at first I was a little like, we better not do that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, that was pretty neat.
It's open-minded skepticism. That's good. That is good.
Talking about turning that, at least part of it, into some sort of plaza has been like, not a formal discussion, but like people have talked about it for a lot of years. It's really hard, even as a creative person, to like visualize what would that look like. But, you know, being able to look at these drawings and stuff, it's helpful to see, yeah, okay, maybe we won't be able to do all the things that it shows. I mean, it would look really cool if we had multiple fountains, but fountains are expensive, and so, you know, maybe we can't, but being able to look at a drawing and see like, we could really do some neat stuff that would really add to the downtown and really, you know, it's been 30 years since we've done anything to our downtown streetscapes, and so, you know, I think it's worth looking at and worth investing in because it's who we are.
Next thing is, where do we come up with the money?
Yeah,
It's a
Yeah,
good
we're
question.
trying to build a park, we're trying to build a.
you got a lot on your plate.
We got a lot of infrastructure
Yes.
stuff, and okay, now where does
I
that?
think
Yeah.
it's a very fair question. Again, you know, as, and Catherine, I don't know if you said this in this meeting as much as you did in the redevelopment commission meeting, but I think one of the things that Catherine's been really adamant about is when opportunities come up, having plans on the shelf ready to go is the starting spot. You know, when, you know, we think about right now, literally, next year, they're gonna roll, well, they've already rolled it out, but next year, projects and plans are gonna become eligible for Ready 2.0, right? It's a statewide program, Northeast Indiana is gonna be a part of that. And so, you know, that's a funding mechanism that we were not planning for when we did our comprehensive plan, right? But we have comprehensive plans ready to go. You know, we have an Eagle Park plan ready to go. We'll have a downtown plan ready to go. So trying to decide how we use those funding opportunities. Plus, keep in mind, Okra, for instance, I know that you know, years ago, not that long ago, they had downtown revitalization dollars. And, you know, and that, they kind of put that on the shelf for a little while, but I wouldn't be surprised if that comes back out, because that was one of the, you know, that was one of the, I would say, one of the most enjoyable programs, you know, from my previous days at Okra. So I guess I say all that to say, opportunities come along all the time.
And we
I-
have been really successful
Yes.
in getting grants for
Yes.
different things, so.
Yeah, and also keep in mind that the state of Indiana, I think, at least under this administration, this governor's administration, and I think even the legislature to a certain extent, have started to realize how important quality of life is, because we don't have mountains, we don't have beaches. Well, we have a beach up in northwest Indiana, but we don't, in general, our state is the Midwest, and we're surrounded by cornfields. So how do we create quality of life experiences for visitors, for residents, because we're gonna need people to fill the jobs as that kind of boomer cliff and going into the next generation, you know, those workers retire, and we have to replace.
The next thing is, how do we jumpstart the property owners that own some of these buildings?
Sure.
Because it's their responsibility to
Yes.
make their building look good instead of the
Yep.
stuff we got right now. And most of those people don't even live here. So at some point, how can we
Yeah.
get on those people and say,
Sure.
hey, fix it up, or?
Well, so I think there's maybe two answers to that, Dan. I think first is, I think we can look at downtown and say, there are more people that are taking, more business building owners that are taking an active and engaged role in making Columbia City better. So I first want to give credit to those that have invested in their buildings, right, first and foremost. Today, it's RDC, Pat, I know you weren't there, but I think we approved 4 different facade grant payments today. You know, the square foot on a brand-new sign in front of their building. They did, Joanne Bird did tuck pointing on her building. So there was 2 others that were in there too. So I want to give that kudos first. But second of all is this council in general, and I think maybe philosophically, we have been pretty, we've been leery about too many big government kind of regulations and things like that. I think there's a way you can balance to say, if property owners aren't taking care of their properties, we can really kind of start honing in on some of those things without it being, again, big government takeover, right? I think it's an expectation of a city government to believe that their business owners in their downtown are going to ensure that the basements are solidified and the buildings aren't going to collapse on themselves when our citizens are walking through those buildings, right? I think it's a reasonable expectation to say our buildings in downtown should be safe for our residents, for our visitors, and frankly, for our business owners that may be renting in that facility, right? So I think there's ways we can address it. I think one thing we've always done really well is replicate and duplicate what other communities have done in the past to see specifically how they've addressed that issue, and take what maybe fits for our community and do that here. But I know one of the things that Catherine will, and the plan will probably spell out is, how are some of those ways that we can address those things? So that was a big dialogue, didn't mean it to be that way, but still, I think you're right, and I think there's a passion among this council, and I think in the next council potentially, of addressing some of those major issues.
Well, I'm like, say kudos to the ones that've done it already.
Yeah.
They look fabulous.
Sure.
For what they've done. There's some that haven't done anything. And how do we?
I 100% agree with you on that. Yeah. I do have one question, Catherine, that I've been kind of mulling over since earlier today. So on the second board, that's a turnaround at an alley, is it not? The red circle there on the top?
This?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm wondering is, if it's something that you're concerned about parking, is there any, and I'm just saying this off the cuff, so I could be wrong, but you kind of have that turnaround spot specifically because you have the post office boxes that are in the middle there, and a lot of people go, drop their mail off, and then they go back through the rest of downtown. I almost wonder if it's something to also consider of if we have that half block of North Chauncey Street, 100 block of North Chauncey, the half block that's plaza space, does it also make sense for us to look at the half block of 100 South, the 100 block of South Chauncey Street as well as a kind of a plaza on both sides without taking a full block? Still maybe doing a little bit of a circle there.
This and then half of it?
As that, and I'm not trying to take away space, I'm just thinking, if it's a scenario where we're worried about parking and we're addressing it at least on some side, maybe we address on another. Just as a thought, Catherine, that's just, again, just trying to think of creative ways in which we can keep parking, create that plaza space, create a gateway kind of through our downtown, so I'm just thinking.
No, I like
Yeah.
that idea. And there was also some discussion about Van Buren, right now there's a signal there, and you
Mhm.
mentioned the speed issue. If you see that green, right, you got it. Of even looking at that as a four-way stop condition, which means you could, really have bump outs on all four corners, and even, you may have seen sometimes intersections give a little bit of height, and then you don't have the ramps, it's a flush condition. So you could even, we've done a project in Crawfordsville where they always have their farmers market on the street and they close it down. So we built these permanent kind of farmers that come down and close the street. So you could do that on either side, and then you could have that full street closed if you did want to. So, endless height.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if since we're thinking creatively, trying to kill a couple birds with one stone. Plus, I know we have sidewalks that we've invested in around City Hall that I don't want to rip up
That's
either,
true.
so.
That's very nice. Yes.
But, council, other thoughts, creative ideas?
Grievances.
The other-
Grievances.
The other kind of great
Someone
thing
says
about
this.
this is, it's sort of mentioned in the Van Buren problem there with people go entirely too fast through
Yeah.
there. This sort of works, I think, in the way that like boulevards do for slowing people down.
Yeah.
And especially if we put in a four-way,
Yep.
like they're gonna stop. And the other kind of side benefit to that, I think, is for the businesses that are located in that area.
Yep.
If you're sitting there, like stopping and waiting, like you might have a little more time to like look in the window and,
Yeah.
see what's there and what's going on, so.
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to, I know people they like to get where they're going, but ultimately this district is really, is it for people or is it for cars? And I think we really want it, I was there the first Friday and I wanted it to be for people, that was the plan. So, you have to be able to function with the vehicles and get people to the district, but kind of within the district, I think it needs to be more focused for pedestrians.
Other thoughts, opinions?
What about the south of the square, where all the county parking is reserved all the time?
Yeah, so that's what I guess I was kind of maybe alluding to a little bit, is that there's a whole parking lot behind the jail currently that will be vacated.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether or not we do anything with the jail, or whether the county and us can talk through that, or whatever the case is, that lot's gonna be there for a while. And if it's something where we're taking parking away from this area, if we open up that whole south side of the courthouse square for parking, and I'm not even sure, by the way, I shouldn't even bring this up, but I'm not even sure that there's any actual ordinance to enforce, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any ordinance to enforce the parking that's on the south side of the courthouse square.
It was given to them by the Indians, and you can't take it away.
Oh, is that what they said?
It's ancient. You can't.
Okay.
We tried it one time, and no, you can't.
I would be very curious to see those documents, but nevertheless, I say all that just to say that I think that there's ways in which we can look at parking overall in the downtown with this in mind, and say, with all the changes that are happening, are we a net negative, a net benefit, or a net neutral? Because again, as Catherine said, a lot of communities say we want all these changes with a net neutral, but I almost think we're in a unique situation where there's a big organization that's vacating downtown, and we actually may be at a net positive when it comes to the parking. I don't say that for a fact, I'm just saying based on the numbers, my guess is we're probably at a net positive.
Well, again, I think there's a lot of coordination between the layout of the program, the funding, because obviously above ground has different challenges than what's below ground. And so you can't, I'm assuming you wouldn't build the infrastructure, but not prepare to plan to realign what's above the surface. So I'm just saying, this is something that's years in making. It's not gonna like happen overnight.
Right.
And so I think they just, we've got an infrastructure downtown that just needs some attention.
Yes.
And but I think we've got the right people engaged to come back and say, hey, here's what we can do.
I think if I remember correctly, I think in my first term as mayor, I think the previous water superintendent got a award for having like 100-year-old water line in downtown or something like that. Do you know anything about that, Mike? I don't know.
Yeah,
It was like a
an
wooden
award
line or
for
something like
for the
that.
oldest water main or 100-year-old main or
Something like
whatever.
I think we should give Mike an award.
So I agree, Walt. I think if, again, and that's why I just keep coming back to, planning is that. Planning is planning for the future. And if we're going to do something, not doing it half-heartedly, making sure that we're thinking about everything from, 6 feet below at least, all the way up to above the buildings. And just being cognizant of everything that we would have to do as a part of that project. So it won't be cheap, and it won't be tomorrow, but it is a plan. for
But
the
it's kind
future.
of like a lot of things.
Yes.
We've done some projects that we didn't think were possible
Yes.
when we first started talking about them, and now they're part of the community, so.
Mhm. Yeah. Other thoughts, questions? Catherine, I don't know if it is on the PowerPoint, do you have your contact information anywhere?
No, I do not.
Okay.
But what I want to do is send you maybe an email with the full draft.
Okay.
plan that you can send
Yeah.
to, and I'll have
Okay, so I would ask, council members, I would ask you to review that and send comments or thoughts to Catherine directly. So, Catherine has been with us for how many years now? Since we first started, we wanted to do this how many years ago, and then
That's true.
things fell through, so I'm excited that we're finally moving forward with this, yeah. So, okay.
When was the last time we had one of these done?
So, the last downtown project we actually did was 1990,
When Tagmeyer was.
yeah, it was under Mayor Tegmeyer. So,
Whatever year that was.
yeah. So 90-something, mid-90s, we'll say 93, 94, 95-ish timeframe, I believe. So, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
Yeah, I
while.
remember being on some committee.
Oh, yeah?
When I first moved here. And I didn't know if that was the last time we did one of these, or if we have done another, study like this since then.
I don't, I mean, not during my administration, but I can't say about the previous administration, so. We don't have, let me say it this way, we don't have any documents after the 93 timeframe in my office from previous administrations, so. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nope. Thought it was gonna work, but it's not. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So next we'll move to the 2024 employee salary ordinance. As a reminder, this is not the elected officials salary ordinance, this is the employee salary ordinance. Rosie, I don't know if you want to go through some of this.
Everything that you see in red is what's been changed, mainly to cover the 4% increase for the employees. If there was not any changes, then it didn't need to be adjusted. The one, we added a community engagement specialist.
Specialist, which you approved in the budget. I talked to you about that. And then,
Water supervisor.
which is in today's.
And then there's a few different ones for the park. We switched around and changed the wording of them.
You approved the assistant program coordinator job description, if you remember that, and then there was also the addition of the new administrative assistant that we talked about in the budget hearing. So there's nothing new here that we haven't talked about in the past. But I know Rosie did go through and check all the wages to see if the ranges are gonna fit or not, so.
We did add a shift differential for communications, which is new, at 50 cents.
So has the department head had a chance to look at it to make sure?
I've
Not
given it.
that I don't trust you, I'm just saying,
Yes.
because
I've given it to each department head and they've all looked them over.
I thought last year there was a
Everybody's had it.
couple of things that people were being paid more than what the.
And what the
Yeah.
range, yeah. Yeah, there was a couple of things there that I think just fell through the cracks, but yes, I know that I know Rosie said they've
Just
looked
as a
through it and
backup
stuff,
check.
so, yeah, that's a very fair comment, so.
We
Go
did change on the clothing allowance, 325 a pay to 375 to make it a total of 1,500 for the year. And we changed holiday pay.
So with the holiday pay, just for clarification, we had kind of set a random figure, and I don't mean to, but it was low.
Yeah.
So when we looked at, okay, our regular employees are making X on the holiday pay, so what does it look like for our public safety employees? So really what we're just doing is doing a true up on that. It's not giving, it's basically adding up to what they're, it's hard to explain because firefighters' hourly wage is different than a police officer's hourly wage and how those hours work and stuff. So we basically took what the median was and just made that happen. So that's what that number is, that 32.50, and then the $30 for communications, that was what theirs was. Does that make sense? Because they work the 5-2, 5-3, so
Their hours.
every month is it's a 28-day schedule, so they don't work the normal 40-hour work weeks is the point, so.
Or weekday.
Or weekday for that matter. So that's really what the challenges, or the changes are in this ordinance. Again, just incorporating the things that you basically have already approved, so.
So I was just saying, because I knew the previous park director had people being paid out the athletic center more than what the range
was.
What the schedule was. And it's kind of a bad thing.
Yeah. Gotcha. Any questions? Okay, can I have a motion to read on this 2023-20 by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Please read ordinance number 2023-20 by title only.
Ordinance 2023-20, an ordinance to be known as the 2024 salary range benefit ordinance.
Again, we talked about it. Any questions, comments, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-20 on first reading? Thank you, Catherine.
So moved. Oh, second.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor, show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. We'll move that to second reading at the next meeting. Thank you. Next up is a position description for stormwater supervisor. And Mike, I'll let you kind of describe what you're thinking and the purpose behind it.
Well, what we have right now is we got one supervisor running both of them, and what we're coming into, we have a lot of old catch basins that need relined and repaired. And also we've got some big projects like the Chauncey Street project, also the Eagle Park project for stormwater. And it just would make it easier to have a second supervisor running the stormwater end of it, making sure everything gets done on that end of it. Because right now, there's times when we should be cleaning these catch basins every year, as many of them as we can, and it's not getting done just because we're trying to keep it up, working on the water part, the water side of it, and the supervisor's taking care of that, but he's not. He's kind of letting the stormwater go.
So, I'm sorry.
Does that mean we're hiring a new person or?
So-
No, we're just going to advance from within.
So basically, what we're really looking at more than anything else is trying to provide additional leadership within the department so we can have two crews that are one working on water, one working on stormwater, but there's no structure or function below. So you have superintendent down to supervisor, water supervisor. There's no other leadership structure below that.
opportunity for
So
advancement.
exactly. So effectively, what Mike has asked for is to kind of create another supervisor position so we can have two crews running, two leadership structures, let's say, going on. So, which, as you probably know, I think in Sean's department, you got two supervisors there. I know in Gary's, you have 3 shift sergeants there, among the other things. And so not all departments have 2 supervisors, but it's always good, especially when you're looking at future leadership, of having some differences there as well. So that's
Well,
the purpose
I
behind it.
can say this, my supervisor and me have probably retired pretty close to the same time. So it would be a good thing to get someone started in that area.
Do you have someone on staff already that you're
Yes.
considering?
Yes.
I think it's a good idea to have a succession plan, so.
I always tell the department heads, like, if you walk out of here and get hit by a bus,
Yep.
first of all, why is a bus in downtown Columbia City? But no, but what's going to happen to your department? Can your guys or gals pick up the ball and keep running down the street? So,
I'm dealing with South Louis people right now.
Oh, yeah?
Map out their stuff.
oh yeah, yep,
If they're gone, they don't know.
yeah. Succession planning is an important thing for sure. So, any other questions regarding this position description? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the position description for stormwater supervisor?
So moved.
Motion by Jenny,
Second.
seconded by Walt. Further discussion? All those in favor, show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Thank you. In your Dropbox is the CIP budget. Again, I know we talked about this during budget time, but it should say draft. The document's going to look a little bit different than what it has in the past. I have updated it, we'll say. There was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't think was maybe important, imperative, or really timely. So I've tried to make it much more user-friendly, much more clean about the way we process the CIP. So effectively, I'm not really necessarily asking for approval of the booklet as much as the actual approval of the appropriations. The CIP committee has already approved this ahead of time on October 10th. I'm sorry that it's a little more challenging to read. Let me see if I can make it better this way. Okay, so if you turn your iPad like this, you'll be able to see the full. Okay, that may be helpful. If you want to lock it, you can too. We've talked about that at budget meetings, but nevertheless.
No.
So yeah. So we've talked about this, but I'll kind of go through some of those things. I'm going to first talk about sidewalk and curb, where I've appropriated, or CIP has appropriated $150,000 next year for sidewalk and curb. Again, a lot of that will go to the Westgate project because we'll be doing all new sidewalks in that in that area, and certainly curbing, all new curbing in that area. So that's really what the main amount is, but I'd like to really maintain that level, generally speaking, for the next couple of years. There's a lot of areas in the community that I'd like to hit sidewalk and curb wise. So you can see it was 100. I want to bump that up a little bit. Yeah, Dan?
In our wonderful Columbia City plan meeting, there's a lot of discussion about a sidewalk going out in front of, out to the new bowling center.
Okay.
And who's responsible for paying for that? We were discussing that quite a bit.
Mm.
Because we have access on the one side, but
Yes.
you try to get over 205.
Yeah.
Run down through there.
Especially because it gets wider right
Yeah,
there.
and the topography stinks.
It does stink. You are
And
correct.
so, there's a lot of discussion on, everybody wants a sidewalk, but it's like, who's gonna pay for it?
Yeah.
And is it the property?
And it's not going to be cheap.
Right, and so, just to throw
Yeah,
that out.
okay, well, it's good to know that that conversation is happening. I think it's a real positive thing that we're considering sidewalks as we do developments now, right? I think that's a very positive step for our community, for walkers and bikers and runners, et cetera. But yes, you're right, at the end of the day, whose responsibility is it?
Yeah,
And,
like I said, it should have been put into the,
Absolutely.
it should have been put into the plan.
Yes.
It was overlooked.
I gotcha.
We talked
We're
about
kind
that.
of at a standstill right now, and with just strictly discussion and who has what approval, and so I suggest again, as Dan said, that we need help getting off first base,
Mhm.
because right now, it's just an idea, but there's no teeth into that particular
Gotcha.
location.
Okay.
And it's all built around safety. So we're trying to eliminate as much as possible people crossing State Road 205.
yes,
Okay, we want to go back towards town, then cross. There's already a crossing, and that is not even welcome at this point.
well, I mean, I'm happy to have that conversation, if that needs to be had. I think obviously a person or a group at the table has to be NDOT, because that is all their right of way.
That's all state.
That is all state right of way through there.
Because they were even talking to the community development, or the building out there.
Oh, Community
Yeah,
Foundation.
community foundation,
Yeah.
Community foundation, they probably should have been brought into the plan of things to provide the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Not that we need to follow that.
Mhm.
Possibly should have the bowling center, should have been brought into that mold.
Mhm.
Into the engineering design platform, you may say. But it was skipped.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to go back and definitely NDOT, because they have the ownership of the
Yeah.
right of ways. But we don't want, we want to stay away from 205 with pedestrian.
100% agree with you on that. I mean, two crossings we have actually. One's at the crest of a hill, which I think is a positive thing. The other one has enough clearance both ways in front of the Y, which again, I mean, it has the flashing light, which is a good starting spot, but yeah, I agree. I don't think another crossing on 205 is a positive thing at all. I think
I
it's,
didn't need to derail.
no, but I appreciate knowing that that is potentially an issue we're gonna need to have a conversation about, because that's first I've heard of it, so, yeah.
So we would only be reviewing right now the 2024 part of CIP?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, and ultimately, just so you're aware, it's state mandate that after it's approved, we have to send the plan over to the county to get a non-binding review. Doesn't mean anything, it just means they get to look at it, because they are the ones that pass the CEDAT tax effectively, so they have to know how we're spending our money. They don't get a vote on it, but they get a non-binding review, So yes, 2024 is what I'm requesting. I put a 2023 in there always just so that you see where we are now. So under parks, so that was curb and sidewalk. Next is parks and trails. Again, we have Eagle Park improvements that are coming. I would caution you or remind you that some of this money is holdover money. So we budgeted for it and we keep rolling it over year to year to year to year, okay? So the 200,000 in Eagle Park improvements, that is, I believe that's 100 from this year and 100 from next year. The trail construction, that's 200,000 we've had budgeted over the last couple of years, waiting to get the construction, which hopefully is happening soon. So that's that, and then, again, no other general park improvements we're planning for this year because we have those other things that are cooking, so.
Is that what the yellow line is at the bottom? Is that the carryover, or is that the amount
Yellow line at the bottom.
to reserve?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, so you're on the first page, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, no, that's okay. So yes, when that's, and that was my preface on there, as you can see, the funding shown can include previous years and set aside dollars. So it's not a true representation of what the actual kind of cost is, if you will. Specifically because of that second line, which is over $360,000 was carried over from previous years to fund next year's project, because we keep carrying those dollars over, so. Under street paving there, you can see upped it to 150 to make sure we have our match for the $1 million we won or we were awarded in community crossings. So we're excited about doing that second phase of Westgate next year in 2024. That's the plan. And so the $150,000 there is the match for that program. Under community development there, a lot of those are generally the same. We support the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Center with $15,000 a year. We support Columbia City Connect with $20,000 a year. We have kind of $50,000 we set aside for unplanned projects. And then for economic development, some of that includes the Economic Development Corporation's yearly fee. But really, a lot of that's that long-term unplanned, that if an economic development project comes along that would need some, kind of boost or assistance to make the project happen, that's what our CIP kind of goes through, and we have those debates. So ultimately, I don't spend anything that's not appropriated, and in that category specifically, I bring it in front of the CIP committee for approval on those things. I do not spend long-term unplanned without CIP approval, CIP committee approval, just so you're aware. So, any questions about the CIP budget? You usually get this document after you've approved it in the packet. So it's usually like a binder thing that you get that has this information in it. Again, I'm changing it so that it's a little more user-friendly and a little more clear-cut than what we had in the past, but so. Can I have a motion to approve 2024 CIP budget?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Dan. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous. Thank you. So next up on your agenda is the Redevelopment Commission Council appointments. We had a little bit of deliberation before the meeting, and Marcia has kind of advised us that maybe we wait for the new council to make that appointment. So we'll put that on the first meeting of January for that. Yes.
To add to that, the incumbents who are in there today are willing to stay, and because they really enjoyed, but as the mayor said, we can't, I think the last working day is the 31st?
Yeah, their last day of appointment is the 31st, therefore the new term starts the 1st, so therefore
We
kinda-
can't vote on it on the 31st
Yeah.
and be effective, so we have to wait till the new calendar year. So that's kind of where we're at, okay?
Okay, so with that, we will move to department head reports. Chip?
Been working recently on the 100 South, 300 East sewer line, getting easements and everything ready for that. And as the mayor said, the trail is supposed to go off a bid the 1st of December, so cross our fingers.
Questions of Chip?
I have a question.
Yes, Dad?
When are we gonna start requesting bids for the park?
1st of December too.
Okay.
Yep,
I had someone ask me last night.
yep. We're working heavily on that
I will
too.
ask Chip when I see.
We have pipes sitting out there ready to be put underground, right? Mike, almost?
If we had a superintendent.
Mike has a couple of projects that he's awaiting parts for, so.
Oh, is that's the case? You're waiting for.
Well, yeah, so, I'll let him explain what he's waiting for, but yes. Any other questions for Chip?
Thanks, Jeff.
Mike, you wanna tell us what all you're waiting on?
We're waiting for Chip to tell us what they want to do in the park. We've got the pipe, and he said they changed something, and we might have to order some more pipe for up there.
That's all right.
On South Chauncey Street, we're waiting on the cement structure, because that's the starting point, and it should be in any time. Then we can start Chauncey Street.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Chauncey Street, I think you'll remember, I think we've talked about this. If not, then I'll make sure you have an awareness. So when we did our long-term control plan project, there were stormwater drains that were disconnected and put in on a new line. There were other drains though, because they were kind of outside the project area, that were still connected to our sanitary sewer. The sanitary sewer, because it didn't have other places to go, has now gone to the point of least resistance, which means we have some sewer smell that's been on the South Chauncey Street area. So with that, we're gonna be taking the stormwater line all the way up to, go ahead,
It's Spencer.
to Spencer, but.
And then there's a line, there's a manhole there on the south side of Spencer that goes to the river. So we're gonna we're gonna be separating
the Ellsworth Street intersection, and actually, we'll be able to go almost all the way up to Market Street, so when we do a downtown project, the pipe will be ready to connect those stormwater lines of Market Street, and actually it can go all the way up to
the post office.
the post office. So we'll be able to actually separate that whole Chauncey Street corridor effectively. We'll have the pipe ready to go to disconnect that, but, or to reconnect, I guess, the stormwater lines onto the stormwater line. But we are actively working to get rid of the sewer smell in that area. So we're just waiting on us.
And we have the sewer smell all the way up to Van Buren's. So eventually that will be taken care of.
Yes. Yes.
And then also, last week, we had the new PLC put in there that controls our pumps and wells and everything, and it seems to be working fine, better than what the old one did. There are some changes on our SCADA that we still have to do, and when they come back to finish that up, we'll probably add a few things that need to be done. But other than that, everything seems to be going well.
Question to Mike. Thank you, Mike, by the way. You have great taste in shirts. Sean. Chip and Mike and I are all wearing the same general pattern, just so if you didn't on that, so. Sean.
AEP has once again delayed the project for the 69 kV conversion. It was supposed to take place a week ago. It's now been moved to December 8th for our first conversion of our north substation. So they just keep moving it back by a day or so, and it got into a scheduling conflict with our contractor, who's already had other projects scheduled behind ours. So we had to push it off until December. So now December 8th. Pretty much everybody north of 30 is going to have a less than 30-second, but a quick blink in their power to switch over that new 69 kV power. So hopefully December 8th is the start date. We've been out changing poles. We had one of our gentlemen set a goal for his evaluation this year to change a certain number of poles, and we're getting to evaluation time, so we're really motivated to get those poles done now. So we've been changing a lot of poles in the last week or so. We did, I met with a couple of contractors for the new Planet Fitness, new dentist office. There's a few buildings we've been working with, and lead times are not getting any better for any of our equipment. So when I get these plans from the county, often sends them over, I try to reach out to the builder immediately and say, what do we need on the electric side? Because it could be 25 months lead time on a transformer. So that's getting to be more and more of a struggle, but we're trying to work our way through that best we can. You're gonna see Christmas decorations showing up on Courthouse Square here in the next week. Pole hanger should be going up as well, so it's that time of year, so hopefully we're gonna have everything up and ready by the lighted parade. I haven't talked with Kelly on when he's moving Santa's house up.
I haven't heard yet.
So, but yeah, we'll get that.
I'm
hooked up.
assuming before Friday,
I think
before
it's
next Friday.
I think it may be this Thursday.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, we'll get that hooked up as well. We sent 2 guys down to what we call boot camp or pole climbing lab, which is the first step in becoming a journeyman lineman. It's a 2-week climbing lab. Our guys did really well. The instructor did contact me to tell me that our 2 students finished first and second in the class. So guys are doing a great job. They really are enjoying the work as well. So that's really good to hear. We're producing some really good linemen right now. It's great. It's a great job by all my staff. One thing I didn't mention to the board, but I approached them or said something about some tree trimming that we're looking at contracting out. With us being busy with all these major projects, the price came back pretty high, so I think we're gonna try to figure out how to keep that in-house for now. So we'll have to have more discussions later. The budget isn't there for it right now, so other than that, just day-to-day work.
Questions of Sean? Thank you. Gary?
All right, we had the Veterans Marathon this past weekend, went very well, no issues in the city. Officer Clark has been released to solo eval in the FTO process, and Officer Bogner has started his FTO process and is in the 2nd week currently. We received our new duty weapons, pistols with the red dot sights on them. Guys are excited to get those, and Detective Cook and Officer Anderson are our firearms inspectors, so they're getting the range set up so everybody can get qualified on that. Gearing up for the lighted Christmas parade, shutting down the streets and working with Jennifer to get a good safety plan this year. Officer Thomas has taken over the Patrolling for Presence program, doing well at that this year. The date is set for December 16th at Pages Crossing. We usually have about 100 children that attend that. Dispatch is running really smooth and things are going good.
Questions of Gary? Just FYI, Joanne Bird had sent me some stats regarding the Veterans Marathon. So we had people from the United States and Canada. We had 22 states represented in downtown Columbia City on Saturday morning. 56% of the field was male, 46% of the field was female. We had 41 runners that were 65 and older for the marathon, which is crazy to me, but good for them. And we have 56 runners that were 18 and younger. That number makes a lot more sense to me. We also, apparently, so to the north, we reached up to Canada, to the south to Florida, to the east to Maine, and to the west all the way to Utah. So they had over 550 people signed up, and they were up about 50 people from the previous year. So I think that was very positive. Not to mention it had great weather. And she sent me this about a day and a half before, so I know there was some additional registrations that came in. So I think that's a very positive thing for our community. I did use, just so you're aware, some of my promotional fund to put little bags of Poptique in each of the hotel rooms to welcome our visitors to Columbia City, and had a little QR code on it to send them to our website as a welcome. So we try to do little things like that as we can to welcome our visitors, so we can leave a lasting impression that they'll come back. So it's really cool. Any other questions of Gary? Okay, thank you. Marcia?
Nothing.
RC?
Nothing.
A couple things for your information, council reports from department heads that are not here. Mike Cook said they've been working on some boiler tuning up at the power plant. Sludge return pump was reinstalled. They're working on some cyanide issues with IDEM on that, cleaning out some chemical tanks, et cetera, et cetera. Matt Hayden reported that they got the ice rink all up and ready to go. It is opening up on December 2nd. So that's their plan of action. The bathrooms were all winterized on Monday. So, obviously with the cold weather we've had in the past, we're worried about some pipes freezing and stuff. This week is not an issue, but obviously going forward. Digital sign is up now at Eagle Park. I don't know that it's functional, but it is up now, and that's at that little area between the south entrance of Eagle Park and the old Community Foundation new park office. Speaking of park office, they are having an open house on December 4th for that new park office. I will send out that invitation to you all so you're aware of it, so you can take a look at that new area. I know he's talked to you in the past about this, but we had art students for 2D art that was from the high school that was there painting those concrete balls, and then we also had a graphic design student from PFW that was there also helping with that. And Andrea and Matt got the opportunity of teaching Easterfield Passages clients how to play t-ball, which was kind of a cool thing. Kelly let me know, as you are probably aware, that they are up to their ears in leaves right now. Between work orders and leaf pickup, they are swamped. That's his words, not mine. And obviously you heard that we were awarded $1 million from Community Crossings for the second phase of Westgate, which is projected to take place next year, planning to go to bid sometime. Chip, do you remember when bidding is for Westgate? Is it early next year?
Yes, first of the year.
So we are going to be setting up a meeting for the residents there, to kind of the pre-bid meeting, if you will, to talk about here's the plan, just to remind them of where we've been and what we've talked about in the past. And then obviously after a contractor's brought on, they'll have a meeting with the contractor about here's the timeline, here's how the construction's going to take place. Lastly, with Terry, oh, nope, I got two more, Terry and Tom. So Terry, they moved all the park office to the new office with computers and phones and copiers. Those are all working. They're still working on some cameras and door controller things there. But then we also got new printer copiers per our contract here at City Hall. And as of Friday, we were waiting on a few more of those to come in. Finally, with Tom, there were some issues with 102 that they're working to repair. It's 20 years old, so there's some parts that are getting a little hard to come by. But they're pretty confident they can get some of those things taken care of. And 101, once again, is having some issues because of the coolant thing that he's talked to you all in the past about. So overall, they, as I think I told you last time, they have an individual getting ready to retire. So there will be a hiring process for that, but we've not opened that up yet. Any questions of me? Last thing I will let you know is that tomorrow I will be in Indianapolis all day for the second meeting of the first task force. So that'll be tomorrow, so I will not be here, and then we have youth council on Thursday. Lots of things are happening. It's a very busy time, but as you are well aware, City Hall is closed next Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. So.
US 30, I've seen it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I report that at BoardWorks. So the US 30 Pell study, Planning and Environmental Linkage Study, has the Pell consultants have released their universe of alternatives. I'm sorry, don't mean to turn my back on you ladies. Universe of alternatives. And effectively, that's just a list of here are the kind of treatments we're going to look at in the full corridor. So they're not lines on a map yet. That comes in the next level of assessment. But the first level of assessment is this universe of alternatives. So for instance, they have said a bypass is not something we're going to look at because it didn't make sense for any of the communities along the way. Okay. Adding travel lanes does not fix the problem of the traffic and the congestion at intersections, right? It just exacerbates the problem. So that was kind of taken off the table. So there's some of those things they've said, okay, we're not going to look at these kind of treatments along the US 30 corridor, but we are going to look at these kind, including reduced conflict intersections, which is our friends, the J-turns, but also true interchanges that are along the way and things like that. And there's a whole host in between that. So I say all that to say, I was on a conference call yesterday with the Pell Study Committee, and they said that the actual lines on a map, which is here are some alternative versions for each of these intersections along the way, will probably be in spring of next year. with the third level of assessment, which is basically they say, okay, now that we've looked at these alternatives for each of these intersections, here's what the costs are, here's the logistics of it, here's what this would impact, those kind of things. That will come out late 24, probably fall of 24, with a final version of the Pell study coming out end of 24, beginning of 25. So that's the schedule as of right now.
Is there a public, there's another public
Yeah.
Peabody? Or we-
Yeah, so there is another public input session at Peabody. I posted it today. I don't remember what day it is, so I can look real quick. But propelus30.com, if you go to the US 30 East and then go to the document center, it has that universal alternatives. So you can see all of that information there. And actually, there's areas there that you can make your public comments if you don't want to go to the public input session. So they're going to continue. That's one thing about the Pell study. I'm sorry to go so long, but that's one thing about the Pell study that's different than other studies they've done, is it is a lot of public input, which is great, because you'll remember in 2014 or 13 or whenever, they get zero public input and put out this plan of action that we had to put our foot down and say no. So they're going the opposite route this year, which is really good, which is, hey, we're going to get a lot of public input. So thanks for that question. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Okay, Walt?
Just for council, last time we met, I talked to you about the regional sewer district, and they are in the process, the engineer firm is going to have an open house. And so as soon as I get information on it, I'll forward it to everybody. But it's kind of this is kind of like phase one. This is where we've been, this is what we've done, this is what we got left to do. But things are progressing.
Great. Thanks, Walt. Dan? Happy birthday on Monday. Jennifer?
I have a couple of things. First of all, exciting news for the Southwest District residents living in Westgate, who will benefit greatly from the $1 million check we got to bring back here. Sidewalks, curbs, infrastructure, all very good. I've had quite a few comments about it.
Good.
People are pretty happy about
Good.
that. So, and they weren't even like right in that area.
Yeah.
Just knowing that some things need to be done there. So there's that. The Christmas parade is on the 24th, day after
Early this year.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's a
Early
little
this year.
early this year.
Uh-huh.
At 6 p.m. downtown. We are addressing, as Gary said, the space on Van Buren between Line and Chauncey to keep it a little bit safer this year. If anybody still needs to sign up, they definitely can. They just need to email me. And then segue to that is that also, if people are planning to participate in the annual municipal lighting contest,
Yes.
definitely try to have those decorations up and ready by the 24th as well, because probably that next week we'll be out judging. It always takes much longer than we expected. The good news is our city's growing, so new streets get added and we need to go drive down them
Yeah.
to see what's there. So encourage everybody to participate in that. It's a lot of fun and it adds some extra cheer to our city. So
Thank you. Tad?
I have nothing.
Jenny?
Junior Achievement is hosting our first Whitley Royale this Friday night at the Paddock from 7 p.m. to 10 o'clock. We do have tickets still available for $35. That includes dinner and a drink. It's a silent auction along with a casino night, so you can have a little bit of fun here in Columbia City.
Great. Thank you.
oh, I have
Lots
one
of
more
fun.
thing.
Yes, Jennifer?
The Arts Commission is working on their plan for next year, which includes activities that begin in January and continue all the way through the year.
Nice.
So
Nice.
exciting.
It's nice to have a little jump start instead of starting in January.
Right, right.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. We have no press. Audience, any public comments? Name and address, please, as always. Thank you.
Melanie Love, 113 East Market Street. I wanted to mention, in addition to her presentation about the parking, parking downtown is a huge issue whenever there are, downtown type events. Specifically like where I'm located, I notice it a lot because it's where I live. There was no place during Haunted Jail this year. I know COVID kind of shut it down, and I think people are really excited to come back and do things, and there's no good option for the Haunted Jail. And blocking off that entire street and just, I mean, there was one night my husband came home and had to park at the Windmill Center and carry groceries home.
Wow.
And that's a block.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating when it's cold and dark and there's people screaming and yelling and acting like hooligans. I had 3 trees this year in my yard. They were brand new trees, 3 palm trees, all 3 got killed.
I'm sorry.
Walking through my yard. And I get, like, I chose to live there and I'm not, I had I'm not mad.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you had any conversations with your neighbor?
He's doing the best he can.
Okay.
And it's not people from town.
I'm sure. Oh, well, I'm sure it's not. 'Cause I would hope they would act better than that. So.
Yeah. So that was just my point. But if we already knew parking with the new
With the jail moving and
old
stuff,
jail,
yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Because that's a problem.
Sure.
But I did also, obviously I want to come back and talk about chickens. And this is an important statistic that I heard this last week. That within 1 hour of hearing something, we forget 50% of what we heard after 1 hour. After 1 day, we forget as much as 66%. After 1 week, we forget as much as 75% of the conversation. That's how easy it is to forget the things that we've heard. So I know I stand up here and I talk about these things every single time, but a lot of this is because it's important and because I know that we're all going to forget. So today I wanted to point out that H5N1, which is bird flu, was first discovered in China in 1996. It spreads from migratory birds, and it goes through contaminated equipment and feed, especially in close quarters. We see it a lot in the huge facilities because they have their birds crammed together and they have a lot of employees coming in and out. You get all of that cross-contamination that you don't have with like your backyard. And there's 5 people touching your chickens and, that's a perfect breeding ground for many diseases, including bird flu. 60 million chickens and turkeys were killed by bird flu since 2022 because the standard procedure is to neutralize an entire flock to prevent the spread. Your chickens get it. They will usually die within 48 hours. There is no cure, they don't recover. However, you can actually eat the meat and the eggs from infected birds. Obviously, the FDA is not going to do that on a large scale, but you can in your backyard. There's never been a confirmed case at all of bird flu spreading through that, because as long as you're cooking it properly, which is chicken and you should be, you're fine. The issue is when you come in contact with feces, this prolonged exposure to feces and saliva and really nasty stuff that you probably shouldn't be touching anyway. 60 million turkeys, I already said that anyway. Flock of nearly 300,000 meat birds were killed 2 weeks ago in Arkansas, and nearly 1 million were culled in Minnesota last week at one egg producing plant. And then just this week, there was 1.2 million birds in Iowa. I just wanted to point this out to you guys because I think this is really important, and it's a sign that we're going to be seeing egg prices going up again because bird flu is on the rise again, and this is going to continue to be a problem. So, again, I just feel like, not having access to our own chickens is a huge oversight and problem.
Thank you, Melanie. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Hearing none, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
All right, have a good evening, sir.